Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this. This is the segment I've been looking forward to the most tonight, guys. We have a list of some of the best teams in college basketball. We're going to try to get to as many as 6 of them. We'll see how long this conversation part goes. But I want to talk about the worst potential matchups. I want to talk about the teams that could end up picking off some of the best teams in college basketball in the second round, maybe in the Sweet 16. We're going to start with UConn, the reigning champions, the number one team in the country. Fun fact, guys, I don't know if you knew this, but it's been since 2016 that a reigning national champion has gotten out of the first weekend. And the last time that a reigning national champion made it past the Sweet 16 was in 2007 when Florida repeated as national champions. That's what UConn is looking forward to. I'd say they're probably going to lose in the second round or the Sweet 16 of this tournament. So we'll go to you, Josh, first. Who is the team that could end up upsetting them? Who do you like? What's the matchup?
Well, and I want to tell you the team, and that's an amazing and crazy stat that you just shared with everybody. I mean, when you think about it, however, it's so different now in college basketball, where maybe in the past, after teams have won, most teams they would lose their guys to the pros or whatever, and you couldn't go get guys in the transfer portal. You had to go get high school kids or whoever was available in the spring, until just recently. But now, because of the portal and different things, you can reload in a hurry, which obviously UConn's done. But the one team that I think, if any of those top seeds, and I think Purdue and UConn are a lock to be 1 and 2, the top 2 seeds, and I think obviously the other seeds are still to play out. But whoever the top 4 seeds are, the team that I would not want to face in the round of 32 or possibly even the Sweet 16 would be Iowa State. I think they're a dangerous team defensively. I don't think they have a real star on their team. But when you watch them play and what they do defensively, I just think they can cause you all kinds of problems. And they're one of those games where they junk it up against you. And when I say junk it up, just make it really tough for you to score. You get frustrated. They're just kind of beating you up, and all of a sudden it just becomes tight. It's 7 minutes to go in the game, 6 minutes, 5 minutes. It's a back and forth 4 points difference here or there. The crowd starts cheering in the stadium for against you as a top seed. And all of a sudden, those things type of happen. So, again, depending on where Iowa State lands, I mean, obviously, if they're a top seed, but I think in the end, they're going to be in that range of could be anywhere between 4 and 6, I would think. And all of a sudden, you're facing one of those guys, maybe in the Sweet 16, and they just knock you out because you just can't get by them because of their ability to defend.
Yep. Goodman.
I don't know the exact team. Like, I'll say this, like, it's got to be a team that can take advantage of their maybe lack of athleticism with Spencer and Caravan. I think that's the biggest thing to me. And then defensively, a team that can kind of switch everything on them. I don't know who it is, maybe Illinois, but I don't love Illinois' point guard situation. So
I have 4 things written down. There's you nailed 2 of the things you got to be able to do. There's basically 4 things that you have to do to beat UConn. You got to have a 4-man that can attack Alex Caravan. That's kind of the I think the one weak spot is he's not a great individual defender. He's fine, but he's not great. So if you got a 4 guy that can attack him, that's big. You need a 5-man that's going to be able to get Donovan Clingan in foul trouble, because Donovan Clingan has a tendency to jump at pump fakes, and if you get him in foul trouble, it completely changes them defensively. You can't rely on ball screens. They are in the 98th percentile in defending ball screens, according to Synergy, and you need guards that can get to the basket, because they don't have – if you can get Clingan out, they don't really have rim protection, and they don't have guards that can stay in front of you. I don't know if there's necessarily a team in the 7 to 10 seed range right now that checks those boxes, but I have 3 in the Sweet 16 that I think could cause UConn a lot of problems. One of them you mentioned, Goodman, is Illinois. They can switch everything defensively. Coleman Hawkins can pull people away from the basket. Terrence Shannon is going to get to the basket. Marcus Domas can get to the basket. Alabama, because of the way they can spread you out and the fact that all they want to do is be able to get to the rim or shoot threes. I think that their style matches up really well. And then Auburn, because Jalen Williams and Janai Broome, I think, might be the best 4-5 combo to be able to go at UConn's front line. So those are the 3
smaller guards. Do you like those smaller guards against UConn? I know they can get into the seams a little bit, but That was the only thing that
I
worried
don't
me.
think you
I
have to
thought
have
about
smaller.
Auburn. Yeah.
Smaller guards can make it work. To me, it's more Janai Broome can get Klingon in foul trouble, and Jalen Williams can take advantage of Caravan at the 4. All right, let's move on. Next, Purdue. Goodman, we're going to you first on this one. Who can beat Purdue? I think that there's one very obvious blueprint that you can follow in terms of matchups.
FDU can beat them. I know that. I don't know who can beat them this year.
Josh.
Well, but it's true. Like to be honest, who can beat Purdue? Whoever is going to face them in the first round in that 116 can beat them because it's going to be in their heads. That's who can beat Purdue. After that, I think it's going to be smooth sailing to the Final Four for Purdue. I think they're that good. But again, you're going to need a team that's going to take advantage of Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer defensively, even Lance Jones. He's older. He's strong and athletic, but he's not 6'5". So I think you need these big, strong, athletic guards that are going to be able to take advantage of Purdue. And obviously, if you can get a big that can put Edey in ball, like obviously he's going to be in drop coverage. So you need a big that's going to be able to pull him away from the basket and make him uncomfortable. Who is that? Yeah, again, I don't know exactly who that's going to be, but that's the blueprint, how you're going to beat Purdue.
Yeah.
Josh? Rob, and just a quick touch on UConn, the way Stephon Castle's shooting the ball as of late, like that makes them so much, because that was probably one area, and Stephon Castle's a pro prospect, obviously, and he's a really good player. But his lack of 3-point shooting, you could just back off of him and not guard him, and you could help in other areas. If the way he's shooting the ball as of late, that changes the dynamics of UConn, where you almost have to now guard. You just can't give them dare shots. You got to guard all over the floor. That's a change for them. And then the second part, whether it's Purdue, UConn, or whomever, and I go back to Iowa State, and I don't know who exactly on Purdue. I'm telling you, in the tournament, when you get stuck and you can't score, and you know that the entire season, it's literally on the line for that game. It's like being in the Olympics. You train for all 4, for 4 straight years, and you have one shot at it, and you're in a round of 32 or a Sweet 16 game because so much is put about going to the Final Four, and you go in a stretch where you're not able to score the ball. The tightness that everybody gets, it's not easy. And you look at UConn last year. I mean, last year they went through with they had no stress the whole year. I mean, they just steamrolled everybody. I mean, there was one year where Florida did that when they went on one of their championship runs. They steamrolled everyone. That's not the normal. That's not the norm. Usually you're going to have one stress game where you have to get through it. And so I always think it's teams, and I agree with Jeff. I just don't. I think Purdue, I don't know if you can say they're a lock, but I would be hard-pressed to find that they're not in the Final Four this year. I just think they're so good. They're older. Zach Edey does not foul. He's in great shape. He makes free throws. Lawyer and Smith are so much better than they were last year. The addition of Lance Jones has made him that much better, just athletically. So I don't know who can get Purdue, but whoever's going to get Purdue, it's got to be one of those things where it's a game where it's just tight. They can't score, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's they feel it and they just kind of tighten up and they don't get the job done. I don't know if it's a particular team that can do it to Purdue. I think Purdue and UConn are about as clear favorites to getting to the Final Four as maybe we've had in the last 4 or 5 years. I just think those two teams, I just don't see right now for this year of college basketball. I don't know if those two teams cannot not get to the Final Four this year. I just think they're head and shoulders better than everybody.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that sentiment. I do think that if you are built similar to how Northwestern is built, where you got some guards that can shoot it and a point guard that can really attack that drop, you can beat them. So the teams that I wrote down for that: Colorado State, Isaiah Stevens, absolute stud, maybe the best point guard in the country. And they got some bigs that can space it out a little bit. I think Butler, DJ Davis, I did not realize this until I started looking too deep into stats on Synergy, but he's one of the best ball screen point guards in the country, who also happens to be able to really shoot it, who also happens to be used over and over and over again in ball screens. So that one kind of checks the box for me. And then Baylor, just with the way that Scott can go ball screen after ball screen up, and there's like 5 different guys that can beat you in that system. The last one that I'll mention, Who is the FDU on steroids this year? New Mexico. Got a bunch of little guards. They can climb up under you. They force turnovers. They want to get up and down the floor. So if you end up getting New Mexico in the second round, if you are Purdue, I would not be happy about that. All right, Pastner, we're going to you. UNC. How do you beat them? Who's the tough matchup? And you are not allowed to say Clemson because Clemson is too obvious of an answer to that.
No. Well, here's I think with UNC and just a couple teams just come off the top of my mind, but I think for UNC, I think their whole things have to come down defensively. I mean, RJ Davis can score it, who I think he's probably ACC Player of the Year to this point, and I think that obviously Baycott's a double machine. But, I think, again, for North Carolina, I think if I was them, anyone that's similar, and it's similar to Virginia. And I'm telling you, don't sleep on Virginia right now. I think the way they're playing, I think they might end up passing Duke and Carolina and could win the ACC regular season championship. But I say if they had to play Virginia in the tournament, I think they would give them problems. And there's a second team. So I think Virginia for sure would give North Carolina problems. And a second team that's not a Power 5 team would be Indiana State, assuming they continue to win out and win their tournament if they're not going to get an at-large. They play 5 out. The way they pass and cut and move and shoot the ball, they'll force Baycott and Ingram have to be on the perimeter, so they just can't sit by the basket. They can do different things. Now, listen, they'd be playing Indiana State in a round of 32. They're not going to play them in the first round, but in a round of 32 game or, unless Carolina lost some more and it's 3, maybe if Indiana State was seeded a lower seed, but assuming Indiana State keeps winning, they're going to be in that maybe that 8-9 game possibly, because they could end up having 30 wins when it's all said and done, 28, 29 wins, and they put them in an 8-9. Sort of similar to that Wichita State Kentucky deal. And I think the way they play, it's a hard guard. Sort of same thing for Purdue, because you'd start bringing your big out, and because their 5 is really their point guard, and that would cause them some problems. And the last team I just want to say on that I think would cause North Carolina some issues just because of the way they play would be Nebraska. If they had to see Nebraska, because their 5 again, it's their 5-man with Rink Mast. The way again he's really their point guard. He's playing at the top. Everything runs through him. He's literally their point guard in the stuff that he does. He's not a flying around above the rim athlete, but North Carolina has to bring Baycott and those guys away from the basket, which again I think could give them problems.
I'm here for the Keezy Tominaga NCAA tournament run. Goodman, the 2 teams that I had written down, I think you need big guards if you are going to be able to beat North Carolina, big physical guards.
That's what I wrote down.
You got to be tough inside, and you got to be able to control the tempo. So the 2 teams that I wrote down, one of them, South Carolina. I think South Carolina is going to end up like on the 5 team.
Good call.
So that'll be a 16 one. The other one, I'm going off script with this. Washington State. They control tempo. They defend. They got a really good big point guard in Miles Rice. That's the third one that I had written down for North Carolina.
I got one other team that you know who Carolina doesn't want to see? Arizona. Because of Caleb Love.
All right, real quick, let's roll through Arizona real quick. Goodman, you got about 30 seconds. Talk to me. What's the matchup there that Arizona doesn't want to see?
I'm trying to think of who Arizona doesn't want to see. I didn't do this research like you did, Rob. I didn't spend a ton of time. I was busy watching this Arizona game.
All right, then.
Tonight.
And how about this? I'm gonna pitch this one to Josh. All right, ready? Yeah. So I think I don't think Arizona wants to sit there and guard, right? So I think if you can kind of control possession, you might be able to win. I think Caleb Love can get out of control a little bit, and I think that you can exploit Umar Ballo. So I'm stealing your pick for North Carolina. I'm saying Indiana State is the team that can pick them off. You can pull Ballo away from the basket with the big homie Robbie Avila, and I think that they have enough guards to be able to give them problems. The other one, I don't think Arizona wants to see Kentucky. Go ahead, Josh. What do you think about
those are two good. Those are 2 good teams, and Robbie with Indiana State can flat out play. And you're right on that. It's the similar thing with Carolina. You got to bring out the bigs, and that's where they struggled last year with Princeton. If you recall, the way they got hurt on some of those cuts and the back doors and 5 out. But the difference again for Arizona this year is Keishad Johnson, just on his ability to switch, and they can maybe go small if they have to and do different things. But I think Kentucky's a team that they're not going to want, not to, I don't think who wants to see Kentucky in the tournament, because you don't know what's going to, the Kentucky team that played at Vanderbilt or the Kentucky team that defended against Tennessee. You don't know who's showing up. If that's the right Kentucky team that we all think, I mean, they're good enough to go to the Final Four. You just got to they just got to be that team that gets hot. And I don't think they're going to be one of those top 1 or 2 seeds unless they reel off a bunch of wins and win the SEC tournament.
I agree. Last thing I'll say, Tennessee, Goodman, here's my prediction. St. Mary's picks them off in the second round. That's the perfect matchup. Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.